Welcome, everyone, to this week's edition of the Commercial Real Estate 101 podcast. It's great to see you all this afternoon. For those of you guys who are tuning for the first time, this has become kind of a watering hole to learn about different commercial real estate topics. And oftentimes we'll have speakers to talk about a variety of different subjects. And today we have a phenomenal individual. She's actually a client and a friend of mine, Paula Blankenship. She is the CEO and founder of Heirloom Traditions and also the CEO of CamCoat, which she'll explain a little bit more about the nuances of each of these companies during our discussion. But I thought it would be good for us to learn a little bit about the entrepreneurial mindset. You'll learn about Paula's story about starting this company from her kitchen table and starting it now to being the largest online paint distributor manufacturer in the country. So they're doing really cool stuff, and I thought it'd be awesome to host you. So Paula, welcome to the show.
Well, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me. Not the traditional guest, but obviously doing real estate, and as we grow here, using your services more and more. So great to have
Yeah,
met
no, and
you. And
obviously, I
yeah,
appreciate your trusting me also, but more so, I think what's good about this podcast is that we attract people from all across the country. It's
right.
pretty fascinating. We're actually in the top 10 podcasts in the world for commercial real estate, which is pretty
Wow.
awesome.
Congratulations.
We've had a
That's
lot of
awesome.
we've had a lot. I mean, we get between 7 and 8,000 downloads a month, and a lot of them come from commercial real estate professionals. So obviously, brokers and agents are a big piece of that, but also we get commercial attorneys. We have commercial construction professionals. We have people that really touch all facets of commercial real estate. And,
Sure.
with your story being so really inspiring about how you started to now where you're getting to, all these individuals are entrepreneurial in nature oftentimes, right? If you provide a service and you're trying to, grow a business, you're an entrepreneur.
That's
So,
great.
I thought it would be great for us to just talk a little bit about your background, your story, and then talk about the entrepreneurial mindset and how to foster that regardless of what profession you're in. So
Sure. Very much everybody travels a similar path in that vernacular for sure. So
definitely.
ask away. You tell me what
Yeah,
you want to
well,
know,
no,
and I'm here to
absolutely.
answer.
So to start off, we'd like to learn a little bit more about the person that's across the table from us. So if you don't mind kind of sharing a little bit about your backstory, I think that'd be awesome.
Oh, well, I think what would probably be inspiring to your audience is to know I don't come from a traditional educated, I've got a pedigree here that is something you can't attain. I started this business in my kitchen at the age of 50. I'm a high school dropout. I have no degree or anything. I am a creator and I'm a product creator. I have several patents under my belt now as a 62-year-old woman. So all those things I say simply to let you know it doesn't really matter where you come from and what you have under your belt, what education you have, all those things. It's really about drive, and it's really about the stick to itness to get you there. So if you don't mind getting a little beat up and bruised, and you can dust yourself off and carry on, and understand that it's all part of it, and how you view the word failure. 100% in my world, it is how I have looked back all the things that brought me here today, and how did I end up here? I ask myself that question very often. The road here was paved with what most people would call devastating loss of money, time, and energy, and the big F word, failure. So
Mhm.
I happen to be one who views all of those things in that old glass half full or glass half empty. I've always looked at it like, hey, I learned some crap there, and I'm going to apply all those lessons to the next one. So I never viewed anything as a failure. Probably all the world outside looking in said, that woman has closed more businesses, opened more businesses throughout my life. I had my first business at 16, by the way. So I've
Mhm.
always been a risk taker, always been looking for. I knew I was destined for something different most of my days. And of course, once I found and understood the internet, I knew that was where it was. That's where the mystery all opened up for me. I thought that is the piece that I've always needed. I come from a very small town in Tennessee, grew up as a retailer because my parents were in the furniture business 50 years. I stepped into that role just like a lot of people do. My sister and I both owned and operated furniture stores for about 23 years, watched a door of a store. And when I discovered the internet and the power with a 7-day a week, 24-hour a day, it was a totally reversal of how I viewed commerce. I always used to think, oh, let's run an ad, let's do a billboard, let's run a newspaper ad to get people to roll up in a car and get out and walk in the door of a store. All of a sudden, I didn't have to do that. I realized that people wanted to buy stuff in their underwear or in their pajamas sitting on the couch. And when I embraced that mindset, the world opened up to me. And I then began to figure out what is, kind of what is the attraction piece here and what I'm doing in paint. Long story about how I ended up in the paint business, because that's really, I'm not sure if that's an interest here or
No,
actually.
it is, and I was going to try to dive into that a little bit because, to your point, you started out in the kind of the furniture space.
Yep.
I had a chance to read through. I'm halfway through your book right now, so
Mhm.
I had a chance to really read into a little bit about your background and your story and that sort of thing. And you got tied in with famous celebrities regarding design, and then
Right.
you got into the commercial design space as well. So
Mhm.
I'd love to kind of talk a
Well, I'll
little bit
tell you
about some
that.
of that.
I didn't want to take you down that old road, but I know we got a little time here, so I will
Yeah.
tell you that. So, as you grow up in a business, I rode my tricycle in my parents' furniture store. They were in that business 50 years. My mother was very entrepreneurial. Didn't realize that at the time. Didn't understand her way of thinking, and now I realize I'm cut from that cloth. I'm that person. I'm just a version of her. So,
Mhm.
um, she had a dynamic personality. Not that I'm so dynamic here, but I'm saying she was one of those people that most people liked her, and she didn't have any way to captivate that other than her retail store. People came from miles around to buy things from my mother's store. So there was no Walmart in my town. My mother sold everything from microwave ovens to sewing machines to Gibson guitars to appliances and furniture. So she was the one-stop shop. So I watched all of that, and I also learned about taking chances and inventory. And one of her quotes I love, I still think of this today, is, "You can't sell from an empty wagon." You have to have an inventory. You have to have something that when people come to you, you're a resource. So all of those things resonate with me today. I understand that. So um, never dreaming again that I would be in the paint business, but I opened a furniture store myself, and my sister and I later opened a floor covering store to go along with our furniture. So all people needed carpeting and vinyl and all those things to go in their kitchen and so on, and hardwood. And then we decided to sell wall paint and help people with that. So we were kind of a one-stop shop. I was always the decorator, and had gone off to design school at one point, went off on the road with Tanya Tucker, and started making leather stageware at some point in my life, and then came back later and got into the retail business with my sister. So I skip over that. So I know a lot of entertainers from that. I worked with Hank Williams Jr. and
Mhm.
Tanya. I worked with the Mandrells sisters, Louise particularly. I made all of her stageware for a lot of years, and just different people throughout. And still maintain a great friendship with Tanya Tucker now for about 40 years, and she and I are great friends. Um, but all that said, I really realized that coming back and getting in business in my hometown, using those buildings and all of the warehousing my parents had and all that was what I was really destined to do. And in 2008, my sister and I again had 3 stores, 4 covering store and 2 furniture stores. One of them was kind of a cabin type store, and it was a turnkey place. You could come in if you were building a second home, and we would put the sheets on the bed and the silverware in the drawer. You could just walk in and go into this cabin, because we were in the mountainous area there in Tennessee in a federal park. So that turned off in 2008 like a water faucet. And just so happened that same year, a man walked into my door, whom I had done some work for through an acquisition that he had made. He had purchased a home there in Tennessee that had gone on the auction block through Sotheby's, and purchased it kind of blindly, came down, heard about me, and walked in my door one day and asked me would I want to go to work for him. He was from New York City and younger than me, but it turns out he was a billionaire. I had no idea who he was, didn't care, but started doing some work for him. And he eventually kind of opened my eyes to some greater things. I had traveled a lot. My parents were smart in that way. They always traveled with my sister and myself and always said, we want you to understand that the world's much larger than Oneida, Tennessee. You know, we always want to broaden your horizons. Not that they really wanted us to ever move, but they always wanted us to realize that the world was a big place and we were a small fish in a big sea. So even though I never went to college, that was probably the best education I ever had, was the travel that my parents took us, or my mother particularly took us on a trip once a year to some foreign country. And that was probably some of the biggest enlightening things that I, look back on today. Some things that really did actually open my mind up to all things are possible. And she never said anything that we couldn't do. No matter what it was I dreamed, she was 100% supportive in that. She financially would support it and all that, which was a great thing, but it also made me all over the place for a long time. I opened, like I said, a lot of stores, opened up clothing stores, and anything we wanted to do, she would let us experiment because she had a building. We just throw up a sign and open up. So that was a different world, obviously, back in that day. But I learned a lot from that. All the failures there, or however you deem them, were great learning things for me. And so today, when I started into the paint business, I actually opened up or started the paint business simply because my son had become a teenager. And I was traveling, going to New York, working for this fellow that had came into my store. I would go up on a Monday and come back on a Friday. My parents were alive, and they would be his babysitter, if you will. And he was an eighth grader. And about that time, both of my parents died within about a very short term between the two of them. Just unexpectedly, both passed away. So, being the baby of those two people, I'd never dreamed of ever moving from my hometown. And then all of a sudden, different options are opening up to me. And I learned about a school through a blind date that I went on. This is where this is fun. Went on a big Match.com date and met a fella in Lexington. He was from Louisville, and he drove down to meet me at PF Chang's. And he and I had a great conversation, and he kind of was telling me the story of his life and, how he had two sons. And he spoke about Trinity High School. And he said, he said he had begrudged his ex-wife for making him put his sons into this expensive private school. And he said, but looking back was the best thing that had ever happened, because now his sons had done very well because of that education they had gotten. And I was thinking, after this blind date was over here, the best takeaway that I had was, too bad my son could not go to that school. And the more I thought about it on the drive home, a couple hour drive home, I thought, why would I allow a piece of real estate, this home that I had built there, to stop me from putting my son in this school? It would only be me that would be the driving force. So I got online, looked up that school, and it had an opportunity for a shadowing event. So I told my son about it. I said, hey, would you like to go up here to this shadowing event? And he said yes. And he would kind of wanted to see if he was smart. Now, this is a boy who never brought home a book. He was probably traveling down the same road I was on, probably not going to graduate, because he had no desire to go to school. He hated it like I always did. I never told him I hated school, by the way, but I hated school. I hated everything about the rigors of school. And I felt like he would probably think he could carve out a living in our hometown similar to what I'd done, and his own father. So, and again, I'm single, so I was the love and the discipline in this household. So I decided that I'm going to take him to this event, and I did. And of course, they give you the score that this little man took, and he tested honors into their program. So now I am sitting here looking, thinking, wow, now what? He is smarter than I can ever dream. He's smart. He is just intuitive. He's an extremely smart person.
He is.
Compared to these folks.
Yeah, I can attest to that. And obviously, I've had a chance to speak with him. He's very mechanical. He's
very mechanical. He's a
yeah.
He can see things in 3D. That's a skill set I have. And I knew he was smart. His father's very smart, but he actually knows how to put it into process. So I was like, I would do him a discredit if I did not follow through with this. And now he didn't understand, or nor did he ever dream I would actually pack up and move to this city. And I did. Kind of did it behind the scenes a little bit. I came up and I found a patio home, kept my home in Tennessee, and moved out a minimal amount of furniture, so it always felt homey when we would visit, and tried to keep both things going. While I'm working in New York City, I found a lady that would come and stay with him while I was gone away, and we moved out to Norton Commons, which is an area he could walk out. Now, mind you, this boy is 6'3" in this ninth grade. So he didn't have a clue. We were putting him into a school where he had to wear a necktie and that there were no girls. So he was not happy with the fact that there were no girls at this school. That was the only reason he was going to school, by the way. So now he's kind of PO'd at me. So he failed the first year, and lo and behold, turned out that he decided he wanted to go to that school after he was told he couldn't come back. And he actually got himself back into school and went before the board and did it all himself, and got back in, and ended up graduating from the University of Kentucky. And he's a major Vol fan, so that was a hard one for him. So we moved to the rival city. Now, all that said, I started the paint business in the interim, in the middle of this, thinking I needed to do something to get him to like me again, because he and I were kind of hitting heads here, because when I'd come home, he's angry. He's PO that we just need to get on a path that we could do something. He wanted to earn some money. He wanted to do those things. So I said, let me just do this. I can paint furniture. I had no desire to make paint. It wasn't even going down that road. I was going to make a product. I was going to sell knockdown furniture, what I call it, flat furniture in a box. I was going to offer it in kind of a la carte colors. And we were going to paint it up, slide it back into that packaging, and ship that furniture on a website. That was my idea. Well, I made the color card myself and put it on Facebook. Facebook was just images at the time. It wasn't video or anything. I put that color card that I had made onto Facebook. And a friend of mine from my hometown said, "Is that paint? Can I buy some?" So with that said, I said, "Sure, you can." Well, it ain't really paint at that moment, but I felt like it would help me to meet minimums and really maybe turn this into paint. So I went ahead and told her, yes, you can. So long story, to summarize that up a little bit, I ended up reaching out to a company that I had paid an invoice to here when my sister and I were in the paint business in Tennessee. Just so happened that company was in Louisville. Reached out to them. They said, "Sure, we'll make that paint for you." Took them down a sample of something I wanted in a chalk type paint at the time, and started making the paint, put it on eBay. And my goal at that moment was to sell $100 worth of paint. I thought $3,000 a month worth of product. I'll pay him a little. We'll do this. And, this will all, that'll replenish the inventory, and we'll just keep this little thing going as a fun deal. And very soon, it started to get really great reviews. Pardon me. It started to get really great reviews on Amazon or on eBay. And people were asking back in that day, in the description, you could put on there that you could write something on there and put your email address. So I did. I said, "If you're interested in becoming a retailer, reach out to me." So that began to get some legs. And just in a very short window of time, I ended up having about 350 thereabouts retailers of my product all over the country. And that happened in probably a year's time. So people really loved that product. And what it did to me was show me that the internet was the way. And I knew then that if I just embraced the internet and just kept growing this thing, that I was onto something that was life-changing. And again, never thought of this was my career. So about that time, we just kind of carried on and kept, putting the product out there and doing demos. And at about that time, Facebook created the live platform. And I thought, I'm going to turn my camera on here and I'm going to be a QVC. I'm just going to show people how to use paint. I thought everyone knew how to use paint. That paint had always been a vehicle. I saw my mother paint things all my life. Even though she had a store full of furniture, she liked to use paint. She enjoyed painting things. I hated it at that time in my life, but looking back, I go, wow, that is exactly who I am today. I enjoy the process of renewing something that was trash or something somebody was going to discard and making it beautiful again. So all of that became my mission. And my mission statement was to help other people learn how to renew and rejuvenate everything in their home without throwing it away and going and getting an IKEA piece. They could actually take something wood that maybe their mother or grandmother had given them, paint it another color, change the hardware, and all of a sudden, voila, it is a beautiful piece now of quality versus some of the cardboard junk we see today. So once I kind of got on that as a mindset, the story just began to evolve. Hired my first employee, uh, rented a building in a flex space in Jefferson Trade Center, and that was about 1,200 square feet. About 8 months later, I was already moving out of that building into my next building. So we've moved six times in the last 12 years until we finally moved down here to this spot. And as you know, Raphael, we recently sold off the plants that we purchased in January of this year, now moving all of those facilities down here to Taylorsville and putting all of the plant here together. So we'll be manufacturing here as well as shipping out of this location here in Taylorsville versus in the city where we faced a lot of a lot of the hardships there, not just to mention the old buildings, the old equipment and all those things, but maintaining the heating systems and those things are all uh, you know, major entities when you start thinking about that, elevators and all of that. And just to keep everything up and running in some of those older buildings is, it's a lot. So putting it all here where we can manage it and take care of the employees better and see what's going on and getting it all on one campus makes it a whole lot smarter for us. So that's the plan as we go right now. And of course, we are all about website sales and Amazon. So we're scaling our business to Amazon now and working on that as we grow here. We're about 125,000 square feet here in Taylorsville at the present.
Yeah, and you guys are adding. Is that including the addition?
That would include the new 30,000 square foot that we're building right now, and that's where we're at as a footprint right now. So it is an ever changing thing, seems. So
well, and it's fascinating too because there's a lot of lessons we can kind of unpack from that discussion. I mean, obviously, pivoting from various different careers. I know that a lot of people who are listening to this podcast, this is likely not their first profession. And that I was in the engineering space and software development before I got into commercial brokerage. And there's a lot of people out there that have similar paths, whether they were in something else and then they decided to pivot into a new profession, which was in this case maybe commercial brokerage or any other vertical within the space. And so that you can learn some lessons from there, understanding that just because one area of your life is pivoting, then doesn't mean you can't have success in something else. And the only way that you can fail is if you stop trying.
Oh, right? Absolutely. Again, getting up, knocking off the dust. If something knocks you down, learn from it, get up and say, hey, you can't eat me. That is my motto. I always like to say that there is nothing at this age and at this stage in my life that I can look at and say, no matter what happened, if it all blew up tomorrow, there is nothing that you could do to stop me because I know how I got here and I know I could do it again and maybe even smarter again. So that I always pivot. And a lot of people probably look at me and go, wow, you move so fast. And I think that's been part of the magic. I am able to move fast. I make a decision and I roll with it. And you're going to go, well, listening to that, you're going to go, well, probably a lot of unfounded decisions you made. Absolutely. I'll tell you 100% I made a lot of stupid decisions. But here's what I do. I put them out there. See if they land, see if they whatever, and I iterate. I do not know the next steps forward. I make a decision and roll with it. I make my best decision, and then I fix it as I go. I don't sit around and contemplate, should we or should we not? Should we or should we not? I take it from the gut, and I roll from the hip. And you know this already just by knowing me the short time that you have, Raphael. I've bought a building, sold a building, selling a lot, selling another building. That's in a very little short window of time, building a building.
Yeah. What you can learn from that too, for those who are listening, I mean, I think there's a lot of people who try to find I think there's a lot of people out there that are planners, which is great. I think there's a value in making sure that you kind of get the pieces in place to make the best decision possible. But at a certain point, you've got to pull the trigger.
You got to pull the trigger.
Because if not, then you could lose these opportunities that are potentially coming your way. And, there always is going to be another opportunity per se. But at a certain point, if you just perpetually don't pull the trigger, those opportunities will stop coming your way.
They're fleeting. They're fleeting. Your competition is pulling the trigger. Your competition is pulling the trigger. So here's what I say. If I've got an idea that I think is got legs and I think it sounds like the right move and I think it's a novel idea enough that I'm going to take that leap of faith, Most likely my competitions had a similar idea. I try
Mhm.
to be a free thinker. I don't look at other brands. I don't go out and see what my competition is doing so I can outdo them. I really don't. I've never stuck a paintbrush in a competitor's paint, and I don't like to do that. It kind of stops my creative process. It makes me think I'm a knockoff or something. So I don't do that. I like to just kind of roll my own thought process. But if you are sitting around waiting on something to feel like a concrete decision for you, you are way too late to the party. The party's over by the time you get there. This is a fast paced world we live in, and everybody already knows that. So if you are sitting around, like I said, thinking that you're going to get some affirmation from the world or other people, or you're asking other people's opinion, you can hang it up.
Yeah.
Entrepreneur means this: there is no safety net. That's what entrepreneur means. If you think there's a safety net and a paycheck, you're not an entrepreneur. You are a business owner, but you're not an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur means that nobody paid you to do that. You might be going broke doing that, but that's what entrepreneurship means. There's a big difference in my mind.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I couldn't agree more. And I think what it comes down to is understanding that most decisions are reversible.
They are.
So if you make a decision and for whatever reason the feedback you get after making that decision is not positive, then you'd be like, okay, well, let's go back to the
Pivot,
drawing board and we'll maybe
pivot,
make this.
pivot, pivot.
Now, there are structural decisions. I think Jeff Bezos talked about this concept. It's like for those decisions that are structural, like they're going to impact all future decisions going forward. Maybe you
Sure,
take a little bit extra time to focus on
sure.
that. But when it comes to most decisions in business, if you have 70% of the information or 80% of the information, you can
You're
draw a
good to roll.
conclusion, make the decision, and then pivot if necessary. And I
Sure,
think
you are going to pivot.
that's definitely something that I try to share with people that I've met with that are getting into the business or really trying to get established in the business is that you gotta try to innovate. You got to try to do something that kind of you stick out when it comes to providing some form of service, whoever you're targeting. If you're a lawyer, you're targeting developers, or you're a construction professional, you're trying to build a building for someone.
Hmm.
There's millions of decisions you can make a day. You just got to sit down and analyze and say, okay, what can I do today to put the stick forward a little bit further, and
Oh,
that's how
sure.
you can really control.
That is if there's a takeaway here for your audience from things I'm going to say to you, this has been a takeaway that to me has been probably the most valuable words I ever heard said, and it was from Oprah Winfrey, who said, um, "I do not know all the greatest and the next best moves that I'm supposed to take. I'm only focused on the next best move tomorrow and today. Today. What is the thing I can do today that moves this business, propels us in a forward motion?" I like to look at each of my employees, my key folks here that are moving the needle, and I like to think, what does she need to do that really moves the needle forward today? What progressive step can she take, and what can he take? Those are the things I like to focus on. When you're in the role I'm in, a lot of people look back and think, well, the CEO role, whoopee doo, red carpet roll out here. Oh, hell no. Let me tell you, this is the hardest role of all. All crap rolls downhill to my position. So it's to me to motivate and to be the guide and to be I am here in the trees running this business, not on boots on the ground. I'm here. I'm overarching running the business, trying to see what the most forward things are we can be doing. What are the things where people that no one's dreaming about? Everybody else is down here running the day in the day out of the business. I'm up here trying to focus on what are those next best moves for us to make. And then I like to implement them, like I said, through the process of the employees that are working for us to say, this one should take this move. This one should take this move. I talk to a lot of people who will say, our business is doing really well right now. And we are just running, everything's running so smoothly. And I'm in the back of my mind going, that sounds like that someone believes that there is a neutral ride in business. There is no such. If you don't have your foot on the gas, your competition does. And I like to push the gas and run with it wide open, because if you don't, they are gaining on you on the daily. So I don't ever say, let's coast a minute. Let's coast a minute. We're doing great. We're doing great. Let's just ride the wave of success. Oh shoot, you are toast and you don't even know it. You got to get out there and push the gas. And because this thing is to the wall with the internet and it's changing so rapidly, and to even keep up, if you take 2 or 3 days break, I promise you when you come back, the analytics or the algorithm on Facebook has changed overnight, or wherever it is you're running digital ads. It's changing, the landscape is changing so quickly with AI and with all the integrations here that are possible. So I am always looking for what are the next best moving targets that we need to try and focus on. So that's kind of
Yeah.
what you do in this position here.
Yeah, as an entrepreneur, to your point, I mean, and what's interesting too is, obviously we've talked about business a little bit, and what you find is that although all business is somewhat different, right? We provide different services or products or whatever else. The mechanics of business is the same, right?
Sure. All of them.
You're providing a service or a
Yep.
product. You have customers you need to satisfy. You have, some form of fulfillment, whether that's the fulfillment of the service or the product itself, delivery to the
Yep.
client. So, there's all these different mechanics of the actual business process that are the same. So,
Yeah. Maintaining
I guess,
profitability. You got to do
yeah, you have to
all of
maintain
that under
proper
the umbrella
cash
of
flow
maintaining
management too,
profitability.
because I've faced it in my career. I'm sure you guys have as well. It's like, you can have accounts receivable all day long and it could look great because, oh yeah, look how much we have
We're broke.
outstanding that people need to pay us. But if you don't have it in the actual
We
business,
can't buy lunch, right? There's no cash
exactly,
in business. I like a
exactly.
cash flow business, not a cash suck business. So yeah, I don't like them cash suck business.
No, I get it. I get it.
Yeah,
So I was curious if we can unpack maybe a few of these lessons that you've learned so that people can kind of take away a few of the insights. Now, obviously we talked a little bit about limiting beliefs, making sure that you understand as an individual that you control your own destiny. And that's
sure.
going to really be able to propel you to whatever heights you decide. And everyone can attain whatever level of success they want to, whether that's business, family, whatever. You only have 24 hours in the day, but if you really
That's
want to
right.
achieve what you want to achieve, you can do so by making sure that you have that belief that you can achieve it because,
Sure.
you're the one
Yep.
who's the only one who's controlling that. And then on the other side, which I'm kind of curious about, when you made that step to actually hire, how did that come about? And I mean, did you already, I guess, had some experience on maybe the management side? Because that's a big hurdle for a lot of people
Big
to go
hurdle.
from a team of one to a team of two. So,
Oh, that was probably one of the largest hurdles looking back.
mhm,
It seems like such a minute thing now to look back at that. But I remember hiring this guy and trying to convince myself that I had reached a point that I couldn't do it all. And how was I going to go out now and start paying someone, who's going to need hours and, he's going to build his life around what I'm paying him. So how does that look? And I hired a guy that had been a banker. He was tired of being a banker, oddly, and he wanted to come do something creative. He was a painter, and I hired him to paint furniture because I needed to show people how to use the product. And I hadn't discovered the live platform, had not happened again on Facebook, but you think everybody knows how to paint, but they don't. And it's a new world that we live in. And mothers don't teach their kids anymore how to do those domestic type things. They don't teach them to cook. They don't teach them to wash clothes. They don't teach them how to maybe paint up a nursery furniture or whatever. They just say, go buy it, order it on the line or whatever. So it was something that I felt like that was an amazing thing, uh, that and a great opportunity there, and I almost missed it. I almost never really caught what I was giving people and why they were coming to me like a feeding frenzy. I didn't quite get it for a moment, and then it dawned on me what was happening. So I realized that there was a hole in people that needed to have a mentor or a teacher or someone to inspire them to do some of those things. And once they understood that, you would not believe that we have a group on Facebook. It's about 500,000 people in that group, and most of those people have never painted a stick of furniture in their life until they took us up on our free sample offer. And many of them were empty nesters, people in their 65, 70 years old who have now even started YouTube channels painting and inspiring others to paint furniture. So, paint cabinets, whatever it is. So many people have opened businesses, not all older people, but a lot of young people too have decided that this was something that needed to be said. And it's been an amazing kind of a grassroots effort. DIY has been around forever. But for people to be able to pick up a paintbrush and say, I'm going to paint my kitchen cabinets, they're attached to the house. Somebody asked me $6,000 to paint these things. And for a couple hundred, I'm going to paint them. They're going to look dynamite. They're going to look professional using this paint. So that's where the story pivoted, is the customer acquisition with the free sample. I send that out to people. They pay the $6.99 shipping. They get our color card. Now they can choose colors from us from the convenience of their home. And once they open that first jar up and put that onto a door or paint their vanity, it's enough to cover a vanity or a front door or a piece of furniture. Once they try that, they come back, and they're lifelong customers most of the time. About 55% of them come back and have maintained, purchasing from us all through the years. So it's just been an amazing, just a story that it's hard for me sometimes to even really realize what has happened over the last 12 years and how it has propelled to this level, and how it just kind of, like I said, started on a whim, and where we are today, and winning the Entrepreneur of the Year award from Ernst & Young.
Yeah.
A huge piece for me. Again, coming from no high school education, never dreaming that I'd ever hit that level of success and notoriety in that world from Ernst & Young themselves. It's, pretty an amazing group of folks that are in that, that try for that award. And to win that was an unbelievable moment for me.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a very prestigious award, and
Thank you.
obviously it's a very, the companies
Vetted.
associated with that are very, impressive as well. And, kind of talking back to the items that you just discussed regarding the color card, I think it just creates it. I guess more so it's the innovation, the innovative thought, because, I'm assuming when you were looking at the landscape, you thought, okay, well, we obviously have this grassroots demand of people that are starting to showcase that they really value the product. You started showcasing online, which we've talked about the value of online mediums on this platform a lot.
Sure.
I started doing a lot of this video stuff during COVID when everyone was at home, and so I was
Mhm.
like, well, everyone's sitting at home, so I can't interact with people, so might as well just start making these videos and starting
Right.
podcasts and having conversations. And today we've gotten to a point now where many people across the country are listening to the podcast, which would never have happened had I not made that decision to start that way. So
Right.
you did that before most, if anyone did, in the DIY and paint space, and that you started getting a groundswell of individuals. And I'm assuming the color card idea, was that something you came up with yourself, or was that just
Yes.
feedback that people were giving? That's amazing.
Well, I go back in my mind, and I realize certain things happened during my uh, understanding of what steps I needed to take. Again, didn't know them. I just had to
Hmm.
discover them. I always realized that color was the angst that my customer faced. What color do I need? And if their options were to go out to Home Depot, Lowe's, and Sherwin-Williams and all that, any experience I've ever had there, and I'm knowledgeable about color, and that's my background. So I would always go into there in this myriad of colors, and sometimes be overwhelmed, having to dissort between different brands of paint they offer, different colors, and all the chips and the this and the that. And it's it's an arduous process for even me. Like I said, having experience in color and knowing light affects how you see different colors, making sure you're not getting something too hot for your front door that people could see from miles away, those things. So once I really understood that the customer's hesitation to pull the trigger on anything was color selection, not having 5 zillion colors to choose from, but actually having the best colors to choose from that aren't going to be red in the room as hot or too intense, too whatever. Most people don't have that skill set, and they needed help in that area. So this color card helped me condense the idea, not only just about a great paint product, but also about how to select that color without feeling overwhelmed. There's 5 whites on the color card. Of that 36 colors, there's 5 whites. Each of those whites is not there because it's a cute white. It's there because one's a true white. One has an undertone of a cool gray. One has a warm undertone. One has a little more intense, warmer undertone. One's a neutral. It sits right in the middle between a cool and a warm. So each of those has a real category that it fits into. So and then the other colors that fill in the blanks, there are trending colors such as grays and greens and the blues and such. But all of those are there for a reason, not just because I happen to have a favor toward those. I really research, and I still do often, and created this color card around that to give customers the ability to pick a color and love it. And also that group that we have on Facebook, when they go there and see that color, they can go over there and search in that group by the name of the color they're going to choose. And up pops all the projects that were painted in that color. And then she can see it in multiple lights, multiple floorings and countertops and such. And she says, oh, I do like that color. That's a lot like my own room. I have that same color flooring or that same granite countertop or whatever it is. Then they can make an evaluation, seeing it in multiple facets of how this color would look in a room. They go, I think that's the sample I'm going to order. And then they do, and they try it, or they even pull the trigger and go ahead and buy the 2-quart cabinet bundle or whatever it is and step out there. So it's that surety and taking away some of the guessing that people have to. They don't know paint technology, nor do they want to. Have you ever gone into Home Depot and Lowe's? You know what I'm
Oh,
saying.
I
You
have,
went
yeah.
in there.
Yeah, and there's different gloss types and stuff, and
Right,
I'm
there you
like,
go. You get asked
I
that.
don't know the difference between this
That's
gloss
exactly
versus this
right.
gloss, and
You don't want to have to go be an authority on paint. All I want to go in there and do is select a color, and I'm saying, hey, sir, I'm painting my kitchen cabinets. Well, then he comes back with a laundry list of questions. Would you like an eggshell? Would you like a velvet, a matte, or do you want a high gloss sheen? We've also got a bathroom paint that might be more moisture resistant, or we've got a scrubbable kitchen paint. Would you like that one, or which kind of cabinet are you? This person's head's spinning off at that point. So we made a paint that will work, one paint with one sheen that paints leather, it paints smooth fabrics, it paints walls, cabinets, furniture, all of that without any of the S work and no sanding. There's no top coat needed, and it levels on its own. So it paints beautiful. It makes a gorgeous sheen, and it doesn't require all of that learning curve. And then the color aspect. So we give you that color card, so you can just sit at home and choose the colors and order them right there. So do you remember back in the day? I know lots of people have talked about this story, and I think it's always pivotal to talk about it. It was remembering that Blockbuster video. Whenever they were told about Netflix coming on, the CEO of Blockbuster at the time said that he wasn't worried about Netflix, because Netflix, you're going to get this CD in the mail or whatever. Remember how it was in the beginning? It wasn't streaming. And he said he wasn't worried about that at all, because he knew that customers enjoyed coming into Blockbuster and picking up a video and reading the back of the case. They enjoyed buying popcorn there and serendipitously bumping into a neighbor. That was his words. It'll go down in history as probably some of the dumbest words ever spoken. And of course, as we know, Netflix ate their lunch. So that's kind of how I see the paint business today, because we know right now today that Sherwin-Williams probably doesn't ever know I'm even on the radar. But the truth of the matter is, customers don't enjoy going shopping for paint. They just don't. And they probably, Sherwin-Williams and all the other big brands out there, probably really believe that customers will always come to their stores and buy paint, and they will never be comfortable enough to buy paint on the internet. And I am here to tell you that it's not true whatsoever. They want the surety of buying a color they can see at their house without having to go there and having to go through all that garbage. So that's where we've lived right there. That's it in a nutshell.
amazing. Yeah, and there's a lot we can unpack there. Is this the simplification of the process to really understand who your target client is. Your target client is someone who likes the idea of painting their cabinets or doing something. They've probably gotten quotes from people to do it for
They
an
have.
exorbitant amount of money.
Yep.
They're kind of overwhelmed every time they go to Home Depot, and they have nowhere else to turn. And now they come and see you being able to deliver a great looking product at a
Mm-hmm.
reasonable rate, and also you're simplifying the process. It's like, hey, I'll send you the color card. All you pay for is shipping. You can sit in the comfort of your home, look at how this could potentially look with the rest of your
Yeah.
house, and you order online. We'll get it back. Customer satisfaction. If you like it, great. If not, we can coordinate with you, whatever else. But you simplify the process and reduce the friction to making a decision. And we can
Yes.
apply that to all different types of businesses.
Sure. Sure.
Because
That's
to
all
your
you
point,
know.
not
They say
everyone's going to be an
answer the
expert
question.
in one thing, right?
Yes, always take away some. The entrepreneur or anyone out there who's starting a business is always find where there is a hole in the marketplace and answer some question that's been a pain point for people. And I didn't realize paint was a pain point for people. So one of my taglines is, we've taken the pain out of painting, which has really been kind of true. We've helped people understand that they can do it themselves without being painful at all. And we teach people how to paint cabinets with the doors on without taking them off. Now you can do that either way. I don't, it doesn't matter either way to me, but we do teach people how to do that and just sit down and maybe just tackle one cabinet at a time. We made it easy for the prep piece as well. We give them a wipe that is a deglossing wipe, and they just use it just like a towelette and wipe it on and wipe off all the grease and the grime and so on. So they prep the cabinet properly, and they have the surety of that. So all the things that could have been a roadblock or a stumbling block for folks not getting a good bond and so on, we've tried to address those and simplify the process. We have a lot of tools. Some of the things that I told you that I have some utility patents on, or some of the tools I have designed that help also with painting and holding the products and helping support you with one little caddy that I produced and made because I teach a process called brush and roll. It gives people a brush stroke free finish. And a lot of those little things have been really pivotal for us as a brand to make us unique in the marketplace, and no other place to get it but from us.
That's amazing. And to kind of unpack there as well is that, was through this process. I mean, when you were designing all the different things you just described, we talked about the color card was an idea that you came up with to kind of address the concern people had about the overwhelming nature of going into this different environments like a Lowe's and Home Depot.
Right.
Regarding the actual other mechanics of the process, you talked about you developing tools to be able to make it easier for them to paint with the actual doors on, because I'd imagine that's a big deal for some people who maybe aren't super handy and they don't want to, disturb too much of the cabinet environment.
Right. You don't have to take anything out of the cabinet.
Was that all feedback that you received from clients that were engaging with the videos that you were pushing out and saying, hey, how do I do this? Or, hey, how do I do that?
The group that we have on Facebook is the #1 place to gather intel. That is the customer service. I have a meeting today with our customer service agents. So sitting down with them and really understanding, what have you heard today? What have you learned today? Is there something that we're not doing correctly? Is there something we could do better? What are those things? And once we kind of deep dive into those things, that's the next target list of what we need to do to keep iterating, keep fixing, it is. I like to think that we are a customer-centric business. I want to keep people enjoying buying from us, and we are shipping a liquid product through the mail, so sometimes there's issues with spillage and so on. But we like to take care of the customers, and knowing that Amazon is a big place of our growth, and where we're really forward focused is Amazon is a big piece of that. Knowing all of those things, helping our delivery times and all those things get better and better and better. And with Amazon as our partner going forward here in the next year, I really see that increasing, and we're going to cut our lead times down tremendously with that. And our offerings are going to even be much better in the new year, coming with some new introductions I have coming up as far as customer retention and helping our customer even be more engaged with us, because we're going to go back to our old color club, where we're going to offer a lot of different colors that they can't get from us traditionally. They're going to be able to get those from us in our products going forward too. So lots of perks we have coming up in the new year that we're planning right now. So it's such an exciting time. Can't tell you. Yeah. It's just an amazing time.
That's amazing. That's awesome to hear. And so, one thing I'll ask before we open it up to Q&A, because we do have some people on the live stream.
Oh, great.
Maybe
love to answer
some questions. But, where do you see the future of this going? I mean, obviously you've been doing this for the last, remind me again when we started, was it 2012, was it? Or
2013, February of 2013.
It's only been 11 years, and look what you guys have already made happen in the last 11 years. Where do you guys see the next 3 to call it 5 years for the company's evolution?
Well, I'm not young. Certainly not seeing myself as a retiree ever. There's probably not a day that I go by that even we have a couple of days off that I'm still not sitting like looking at the clock going, when can we get back to reality here? That is sad, but it's the truth. I love working and I love doing something always. I'm not a good vacationer for a moment. Same. I love to travel, but I always got to know what's happening over here. So my mind is here and my heart's here. So all that said, where I see myself at some point, my husband often tells me that, well, I'd like to retire. He has a totally different agenda than me, and that's okay. I want him to do whatever it is that makes him happy. But we're an ESOP. 2021, we turned this company into an ESOP by selling 49% of our business to an ESOP trust. And so our employees here are owners. And as we continue to decide what he and I might do, my son has entered into the business now. So he's just taken the role as COO here, and he's managing a lot of the build out and, of course, overseeing, all the movement of the product internally and helping me understand operations on all facets here. So as I see myself sunsetting into this business, probably I will stay as long as my health is here and I can still feel like I'm contributing. I will stay here as long as I possibly can, but we may sell the business at some point, and I may stay on in some capacity here. So I don't want to say that time is approaching, but you just never know. You just never know. I never want to close my mind to that. I would always entertain however and whoever but would come to the table. So never say no, right?
Yeah, 100%. And it's good to think about that stuff because I feel like a
Yeah.
lot of times, and I deal with a lot of different business owners in different industries, and some of the unfortunately some of the saddest things you'll see is when someone's built a business forever. They've put their life, blood, sweat, and tears into something, and they didn't really plan the next steps of
The
when
exit.
the exit, and then all of a sudden, God forbid something happens, and now the family's having to deal with what are we going to do with this business, and
Very
oftentimes
sad.
it ends up
Very
closing, and it's really sad because you put so much time and effort and built something of significance to then not
I
really
think
think about how
to
that's
care
going to look
about your
like.
employees,
Yeah.
to truly care about the longevity of this business is to plan your exit. And hopefully it
Mhm.
happens in the way that you anticipate it to work. And maybe it doesn't. So you have to have an alternative at that as well. So if I were to pass away or whatever, there is a mechanism in place to help them find someone else, and insurance to cover that and so on. So Key Man Insurance to help them find someone else who could get in here and help them drive the business similar to what I do, or at least that would be the hope. So not to say it couldn't be done, but it wouldn't come from the same place. I will say that. So mine's not money driven. Mine's differently driven than that. So, um, yeah, well, anyway, I like to look at it to think I could be here as long as I need to be here, but I want to make sure this group of people have longevity. I don't want to kick the bucket and then have to close up and sell off shop here. I would like to
Mhm.
know that we're good stewards of what we've been given, so that we would put it in hands that it could carry on. So that's how I want to see it.
That's amazing. Yeah, and whoever's listening to this, you can kind of take a similar type of understanding that, regardless of what business you're in, if you want to be in the long haul, you got to think about the future. You got to plan it out. You've got to be able to understand ways to be able to make sure that you can remove yourself if necessary in the future. Because again, you never know. The future
You never
changes.
know. You never know. You could tomorrow have a heart attack and be gone, or
Mhm.
incapacitated in some way. Who knows what that could be? Killed in a car accident or maimed, whatever.
Yeah, and it
Heaven
doesn't have to be
forbid.
negative. It could be that, hey, someone comes along and they want to, acquire, acquire your business for,
Sure,
whatever that
that's
number is.
exactly right. I'm open to all things and all
Mhm.
possibilities. So I never ever say no to anything. I just like to vet it out and then I'll make a decision. I don't like to say no, that didn't happen. I look at it like this. I'm not really able to see the future, and I'm not able to change the future. I think I am able to change only my own future. That I am working on as much as I can, and what's not already built into the cards is probably going to happen regardless of what I do. So I just like to sit back and just take a big old deep breath and just say, I'm going to give it all I got. That's how I just try to on the daily. Let's find the good in every day, no matter what bad is coming our way. There's a lot of bad in the world, and you can look at all that and get downtrodden with all that. But I like to say I can only affect these people here, and I can only affect what's going on in my world. I can't fix what's going on in the world. So I don't focus on politics. I don't focus on economics tragedies that are happening all over, supply chain issues. I do try to be smart about the supply chain issues, however, but I don't like to sit around and think of the gloom and the doom. I like to look at, hey, today let's walk in, let's bring some happy right here and affect these people here
That's awesome.
that we
Yeah, control the
touch.
controllables. And also it's the fact that, if you do that and then other people do that because now
Yep.
you influence them to then take a similar approach, I mean, that's where
Right.
you start making huge change.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Oh, you believe me, attitude is the huge thing, and it is a catching thing. So you can catch bad attitude, and you can give it, you can get it. So I don't like to come in with. You'll never see me come in with a bad attitude. It's would be a very very rare thing. I'm pretty even keel. What you see is what you get. So hard to make me mad. Hard to take something from me because I look at it like this. Like I said earlier, You can take it from me, but you can't eat me. You might break me, but you can't eat me, because I'm happy regardless. I could live in a trailer. I could make it look great. I could live in a whatever, an apartment. I could live out probably wherever, and I will. You could never steal my joy. There's nothing that could steal that.
That's amazing. Well, yeah, I wanted to make sure we had a few minutes at the end to kind of open up to Q&A. So we'll go ahead and allow for that. If you guys are watching this, please type away in the chat box and we'll make sure we answer your questions. In the meantime, Paula, one other thing I like to ask is there anything in particular that you would, like to share, or maybe a question I didn't ask that you were hoping that I would ask?
Well, no, I think you covered everything. I think you're a great host, Raphael, by the way. And I would just like to invite folks, if they think it might sound a little too good to be true, check us out at the free sample offer, and it's on our website at allinonepaint.com. So you'll see that free sample offer there. I'd love to have you come along and try it out. So see what you think, and I'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely. Well, here's someone typed away, said LinkedIn user. He said VOC free. I'm assuming that's the color card. Maybe
it is the volatile, the smell. It's the smell. So it is VOC free for the most part. Different colors have different VOC levels, but it's all under a 0.5 omission, meaning that it's all under the federal standards of VOCs. We don't say VOC free simply because even 0.5 is omitting VOCs, but you can paint indoors and it doesn't affect your animals. You can use it for cribs and babies and all that. It is waterborne product.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I didn't know the terminology. Sorry.
Yeah, volatile organic compounds.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating. Obviously, interacting with you all and the different stuff that we've been working on and learning about the with obviously the emissions and everything that come from the process, depending on the type of paint that you guys are producing and what that would mean regarding the heating in the building and
sure,
ventilation.
Can't have an open flame, right? Exactly.
You can't have an open flame. You can't, there's other things that factor into the actual real estate needs of a business like yours that's manufacturing that may have potential airborne.
Yeah, got to have one of those beautiful steam boiler systems.
Steam boilers.
Oh, I love those.
I'm sure. Yeah. No, they're fascinating. They're interesting to see.
Freeze you and break you at the same time.
Oh yeah. Then you guys had a big one at the.
Oh my gosh!
Facility. You guys had a huge.
We got more than one. But yeah.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Yes, a lot of upkeep there on those things.
Absolutely. So it looks like we may have answered all the questions.
Good. Paula, one question.
I know. Well,
good.
That's
all right.
The good thing about this too, the great thing. Oh, we have another one coming in. Let's see. Looks like thanks for presenting today. What percentage of your business involves the website?
100%.
Yeah.
So, I think they're probably asking what is just a website and what is Amazon. I consider Amazon a website. So it's all digital. It's all online. So everything is about a 40-60 split right now. So 60% our website, 40% Amazon, but that is a changing number. So as we continue on, and like I said, we partnered with Amazon here during their big event that they just had a few months ago, and went out there and made some great business decisions along the Amazon pathway to really scale our business in the next few years. And I believe what they're saying is true. They were here today, actually, with a film crew. Their global film crew came out here to Taylorsville and flew in, and had 3 of them here scouting to do a editorial piece on us that they're putting onto their streaming platforms and putting on all across all of their media that they're doing internally and what they send out externally as well.
That's amazing.
Yeah, pretty cool for that one, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's going to be on Prime, you said, or is that just?
It will be. Yes, it'll be everywhere. They just kind of slice and dice up the content. They'll do a full story, then they put pieces of it here and there, and just like they said, as they saw it catch on and people like it, they'll share it different ways.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's going to benefit all parties involved in that. So that's
sure,
awesome.
just brand recognition. It's helping tell the story.
Definitely. All right. Well, if there's no more questions, I'll give it about 10 more seconds just to make sure we're respectful of everyone's time. But if there's no more questions, Paula, we really appreciate your time. Obviously, I know you're very busy, and I do appreciate you taking an hour out of your day to just sit down with us and talk a little bit about.
I'm just so happy you asked. So
Oh, I
I
would.
hope
Yeah,
everyone.
I was thinking about it for a while. I was like, yeah, I can get Paul on this podcast because I feel like there's a lot of value being exchanged, and we distribute this on all different mediums. So it'll be on
Sure.
YouTube, it'll be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and it's funny because we get so many people that listen to it, and then after the live stream, they'll type away and say, hey, what about this? What about that? So if there's any questions like that, I'll make sure
Sure.
to
Send me
pass the
'em.
line to you, and
Send 'em over.
we'll also make sure to include Paul's website in the description as well. So if you guys do have cabinets, which I'm sure you do, you need to
Furniture,
consider
cabinets,
furniture,
anything.
any
Yeah.
furniture, 100%. So if you have anything that would be a good applicant for the paint, it would definitely be a very good idea for you guys to look into the product because it is a phenomenal
Mhm.
product. And as Paul said, they've been refining this product for a long period of time. And I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys now are the largest online paint
We are.
distributor, correct?
We
In the world,
are. We're
in the
actually
country.
the number one paint seller on Amazon as well. So
That's amazing. Yeah. So obviously they know what they're doing, and they make the experience seamless for everyone. And if you guys haven't already, definitely follow them on Facebook. Like you said, they have 500,000 to 1 million across all social platforms. It's multiple millions,
yeah,
but
several million, several
7
million.
million total. So
Yeah.
just join the movement.
Yeah, I hope so. All right, y'all check us out. Thank y'all for having me. Thank you for having me. And anybody out there, send a question, come over to our website or wherever you want to connect with us. We'd love to have you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And
All
we'll
right.
make sure to include that in the show notes. So thanks again so much for tuning in, guys, and we'll see y'all next time.
All right.